Good morning or afternoon, wherever time it is you're watching this. This is lesson 35 on February the 5th. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. Seems like we're making a big jump from yesterday's lesson, but maybe it's not such a big jump. I could see peace instead of this. Remember the day before that? There's another way of looking at the world. And what we're realizing is that we can see peace instead of this. For years, I wondered, you know, am I really experiencing peace of mind? And if not, what is keeping me from that? It's been maybe a lifelong study of mine. Once I became aware enough that I wasn't peaceful, that came as quite a shocking realization when I was in my 20s, I think. That I realized, oh my gosh, I'm not at peace right now. Here I'm trying to talk about Jesus. Anyway, I felt it in my body that I wasn't following the Prince of Peace. So I started taking a little change in my approach to life and started looking a little bit more inside and trying to determine if I was at peace or not. Well, once we get doing that, we come to this next lesson, 35. My mind is part of God's. I'm very holy. Wow, what a nice, wonderful way to think about it. So let me show you a heirloom I got at the garden supply the other day. And I'm waiting. We're supposed to have a really cold snap next couple of days, so I'm waiting to put them in the ground. They can withstand some frost. These are cold plants. That broccoli I showed you can withstand a little frost. If it gets really cold, you might want to throw a sheet over it if you already got it planted. Really cold, I mean like into the teens for sure. That'll snap them back. I'm not going to say for sure, but generally. But this is Copenhagen market cabbage. It's an heirloom, and it's a nice one for giving a nice summer big head, big cabbage head in the summer. Okay, so anyway, I'm getting excited about planting things, obviously. Okay, let's see. My mind is part of God's. I'm very holy. Oh, I wanted to tell you something else. I learned about that Perella mint the other day that I was showing you. That thing says it's poisonous to livestock. Well, I don't know. I know that not many of my animals eat it. I fed a bunch of it, or I threw a bunch in the chicken pen last year. I don't know if they ever ate it, but I was just weeding out and threw it in there. But anyway, do be aware that some of these plants, I think they all have some value, usefulness, even in our health. But not all to be eaten necessarily. Or if so, then maybe they need to be cooked, processed in a certain way. But that one specifically said, I wanted to mention that when I realized that, that Pirelli mint says it's noxious or poisonous to livestock. Okay, lesson 35. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. Your mind is part of God's. You are very holy. We can say that about everybody because that's our true identity. That's what we're trying to get in touch with. Paragraph 1. Today's idea does not describe the way you see yourself now. It does, however, describe what vision will show you. It is difficult for anyone who thinks he is in this world to believe this of himself. Yet the reason he thinks he is in this world is because he does not believe it. There's some circular reasoning that we want to try to break the loop on. Paragraph 2. You will believe you are part of where you think you are. That is because you surround yourself with the environment you want. And what you want is to protect the image of yourself that you have made. The image is part of this environment. What you see while you believe you are in it is seen through the eyes of the image. This is not vision. This is Images cannot see. I was going to say, this is not vision, this is image making, but it doesn't say that. It says images cannot see. There's another place that says what I just said. Paragraph 3. Keep this in mind, that this is a loop that the separated self likes to do, is to people itself with people that support its identity. Actually, a really quick way, and what we find in the Course, is just to love everybody and don't try to discriminate between people that are going to be around you and not around you, and be more accepting and open. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. It's a quick way. Once you start letting your environment show you what you believe, because you're the one that set your environment up, either consciously or unconsciously, you can begin to say, is this truly who I am? Can I say this about myself and feel it and mean it? My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. Paragraph 3. The idea for today presents a very different view of yourself. By establishing your source, it establishes your identity, and it describes you as you must really be in truth. We will use a somewhat different kind of application for today's idea, because the emphasis for today is on the perceiver rather than on what he perceives. Okay, on the perceiver rather than what I perceive. Paragraph 4. For each of the 3 5-minute practice periods today, remember, we're going to do one as early as we can when we get up, and one as late as we can before we go to bed. And it'll be right before you go to bed, but it is nice, even if you don't do it right before you go to sleep, have a thought of God be right the last thing you think of it as you go into your dreams, into your sleeping. But at some time in the evening, and sometime in the morning, and then once in the middle of the day, we're going to take 5 minutes. For each of the 3 5-minute practice periods today, begin by repeating today's idea to yourself, and then close your eyes and search your mind for the various kinds of descriptive terms in which you see yourself. Include all of the ego-based attributes which you ascribe to yourself, positive or negative, desirable or undesirable, grandiose or debased. All of them are equally unreal, because you do not look upon yourself through the eyes of holiness. Holiness comes from that word wholeness. Okay? Keep that in mind. Holiness is the mark of wholeness. Paragraph 5. In the earlier part of the mind-searching period, you will probably emphasize what you consider to be the more negative aspects of your perception of yourself. Toward the latter part of the exercise period, however, more self-inflating descriptive terms may well cross your mind. Try to recognize that the direction of your fantasies about yourself does not matter. Illusions have no direction in reality. They are merely not true. Good or bad, they're just not true. Paragraph 6. A suitable, unselected list for applying the idea for today might be as follows. I see myself as imposed on. I see myself as depressed. I see myself as failing. I see myself as endangered. I see myself as helpless. I see myself as victorious. I see myself as losing out. I see myself as charitable. I see myself as virtuous. Paragraph 8. You should not think of these terms in an abstract way. They will occur to you as various situations, personalities, and events in which you figure cross your mind. Pick up any specific situation that occurs to you. Identify the descriptive term or terms which you feel are applicable to your reactions to that situation, and use them in applying today's idea. After you've named each one, add, but my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. During the longer exercise periods, there will probably be intervals in which nothing specific occurs to you. Do not strain to think up specific things to fill the interval, but merely relax and repeat today's idea slowly until something occurs to you. Although nothing that does occur should be omitted from the exercises, nothing should be, in quotes, dug out with effort. Neither force nor discrimination should be used. And the last paragraph. As often as possible during the day, pick up a specific attribute or attributes you are ascribing to yourself at the time and apply the idea for today to them, adding the idea to each of them in the form stated above. Adding the idea to each of them in the form stated above. Excuse me, I read that a little bit. As often as possible during the day, pick up a specific attribute or attributes you're ascribing to yourself at the time and apply the idea for today to them, adding the idea to each of them in the form stated above. But my mind is part of God's, I am very holy. If nothing particular occurs to you, merely repeat the idea to yourself with closed eyes. Okay, so during the day, as we have some attribute that kind of comes to our mind, we're going to just take a moment and look at the idea and then adding the idea to each of them in the form stated above. So that we're going to say, but my mind is part of God's, I am very holy, after we've taken a minute. So through the day, as different aspects of yourself come to you, but always add, after you've looked at it and identified it, then say, but my mind is part of God's, I am very holy. So take a deep breath and recognize how loved you are by God, how much you're part of God. You're one of the cells in the body of Christ, as we talked about the other day. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy.